You kick me when you start talking. Hi, everybody. It's Leanne and Leash on tonight's show. Darren is in WA tonight still. He'll be back next week, though. So we'll be doing the rundown, but we will be hearing from Darren during the show, several times during the show. So tonight's topics are a stock update.
Then we'll go through a bit of a newsletter rundown.
We're going to check out the gold of the week. I'm not sure if we've got a relic, have we, tonight?
Yeah, we do. Relic.
We do have a relic. Yep. Okay, very good.
Then we've got our Q&As, which we'll talk through.
And we've got a video on the Steiglitz Township. Darren's doing that one, I'm thinking. Is that right?
Yes.
Exploring the historic buildings in Steiglitz Township.
And then just at the start of this, we've got an update from Dad, who's in Western Australia.
Mm-hmm. And Talisha and I are talking about something that we are really passionate about, and that is the power of mindset in gold prospecting.
Yes.
So that should be a bit of fun.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So are you doing the winners or am I doing the winners? Sorry.
We'll have 2 random winners in tonight's show. So the way to win the prize is comment if you prefer gold prospecting or coin and relic hunting.
And the prizes are going to be this whistle along with a rubbish finds bag. So 2 lots of those. So that'll be one prize. So 2 random winners who would like to pick up some extras. Just make sure you comment.
And I love these safety whistles too.
They're kind of cool, aren't they?
5 in 1. So it's got a compass, it's got a waterproof storage part, it's got a mirror, the whistle obviously.
Whistle for safety, and it's got a lanyard to hang it around your neck too. So
great little device to have in your backpack while you're out prospecting
and
your car.
They did you know they've actually got a fire starter flint?
Oh, there you go. Just in case you got to spend a few nights out in the bush.
That's right. So you could pack your matches in there as well, and you'd be set to go. Cool. And of course the Mind Lab rubbish and finds bag, which is always very handy to put your junk in when you dig it up and find it and take it out of the bush. So 2 really handy little things there. Okay. So stock update. We have received the MI4 pinpointers in store, so they are available once again. We got the dome top batteries from Coiltech, Coils in Adelaide. So we were hoping for some coils, but we did get 1 coil for an order in. So, yep, you're welcome, Colin, for that. Nugget Finder. Nugget Finder, we actually did get in some coils, Sadies and 12x8s, 12x8 Evo coils. The only problem is that they're going to go pretty fast because Nugget Finder just sent out an email yesterday mentioning their production delays. So they're having real hassles getting some components to make any of their Exceed coils and their Evo coils and their Sadie Mark II coil. So we're going to see quite a shortage of these coming up. I mean, there already has been a shortage, but, you know, this is going to make it worse. So if you're wanting an Evo coil, particularly the 12x8, I know we've got 12x8s in stock and some Sadies in stock. If you want them, jump online, guys, come into the shop tomorrow and grab one because they're not going to hang around very long.
And just today, Dad sent me a video of him in Western Australia. He's found a good spot out there and he's got some tips to share on it and some things to look out for. So I'll play that now for you.
Cool.
Yeah, it's Darren here from Lucky Strike Gold in Geelong. Yeah, as you know, I'm over in WA at the moment. I just come across this cool things. I just found an old miner's bucket there. That could tell a story or two. An old gold pan. I think he needs to go into Lucky Strike and buy a new one. See this day, a few old cans there. But this whole area has actually been done probably, I'd say, in the 1930s with dry blowers, because you can see the piles over here. You see the piles of stone there, and there's a coarser one there. You can see them scattered throughout this area. So they've been working up the side of the hill, getting gold. But come and I'll show you something up here. As you can see, they've stripped right down to the hard rock. So the gold would have been sitting on top of that. Up here. They have a lot of fish. Now, there's been a reef here, and this reef is actually running east-west, so it's probably a leader, because this area was renowned for having some leaders, very rich leaders. So it's been very rich. The old timers have taken it out, but this gives me the heebie-jeebies. Look what's down there. It's a snake skin. I reckon it's probably, I reckon it'd be 5 foot long. So, yeah, I don't like seeing that. But yeah, interesting area. But when you look over the back here, these are just piles that they've thrown out of the heap. Look, there's probably specimens in it. But yeah, just a lot of dry blowings throughout this area here. See piles there, piles there. And there's actually a grave over here. So I don't know. Look, it could have been just his dog. But yeah, a little bit windy, so I hope you can hear me. Yeah, look at this pile here. That's a bit more quartzy. So that has probably come out of that reef, and they've probably bought it here and yeah, had a bit of a look. But over here, there's a grave. Yeah, definitely a bush grave there. But like I said, it could have been just his dog or his who knows, donkey. It's a bit small for a horse, a bit small for a person, not long enough. But yeah, probably more likely his dog. But yeah, well worth looking around this area if you come across something like this.
There you go. Hope you enjoyed that video and quick little update from Dad over in Western Australia.
Actually, I just remembered he told us a story the other night. I don't know if you've heard it, but the two of them were sitting around just outside having tea. Yeah, Darren was on just a chair, camp chair, and someone else was just sitting on the steps of the caravan, and this snake came out from underneath the caravan.
Oh. Do you know what's funny? This happened to Dad only a month or two ago at Avoca as well.
Oh, it did
The
too.
same thing.
Yeah,
Dad was
exactly.
sitting on the caravan steps and a
Exactly.
snake went underneath.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Funny.
So we'll give a quick update on the gold price. So around 6 o'clock today, it was sitting at $1.52.01. And that's nearly $5 up since last week.
It is too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, when we were looking at it before, I thought it was like $1 up, but
Oh.
it's actually $5 up. Yeah, that's crazy. And they say that, or some of the opinions out there with around the gold price is it's very volatile at the moment because of Donald Trump. And we all know, he's quite volatile. He gets ideas in his head, and he is a bit like a bull at a gate and just runs with them. So I think the market is a little bit nervous right now for it to go up that much. I mean, it started to slide down again, but I think we'll still see fairly high gold prices just due to that unsettling influence, I think, for a while. So, yes, interesting. Keep your eyes peeled. Okay.
So if you've got any questions as we go through this live today, whether it's relevant to what we talk about or something completely different, feel free to pop them in the comments and we'll get back to you.
Cool. Get those questions coming in.
So we'll do a quick rundown through the newsletter that went out earlier today. So I think it was not last weekend, but the one before, we had the gold panning championships over in Blackwood.
Mhm.
So the
1st of March, I think it was.
yeah, I think it was. Yeah. So the Bendigo PMAV team won for the group.
Good on you, Bendigo.
And then we had James Keys, who won as a singular person.
Which he has won that trophy so many times. So I'm guessing he'll be heading over to New Zealand. That was the prize, was to head over there to compete in the World Championships, which is good that they're close to home this time.
Yeah, definitely.
Usually the World Championships are over in Europe somewhere, but
do we know where they'll be held next year?
I think that is next year. Actually, don't quote me on that. I'm not sure when it is. So no,
Are they every year?
They're every year. Yeah. So, and they take it in turns with whatever country they're going to. So I remember them being in Australia, but that's a long time ago. I reckon that would have to be over 20 years ago that they were in Australia. So it was interesting though. We went and had a look. It was really interesting to see all the different nationalities and, you know, dressed up in their, a lot of them, you know, in their own, you know, country's traditional costume and that. So it was kind of cool.
Where were they?
That was up at Maryborough.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll have to find out what year that was, but yeah, it was cool.
And I've been hearing some interesting stories lately about the Brisbane cyclone from prospectors, but I thought this would be a good one for you because you were just up there right before the cyclone hit.
We were there just a few days before it hit. We had an event to go to up there, and we got up there and the event was cancelled because of the cyclone. But anyway, we visited some family up there, so made good use of our time. But we did come home a day early because we were worried that the airports were going to be closed. So we did get back in good time. Got last 2 seats on an aeroplane into Avalon. So we were pretty happy to get out of there. It was really eerie up there, and I tried to go shopping one day and the shops were all closed. They took all their stock out of the window. So, you know, they were just really preparing for the worst. And then, they were starting, to tape up their windows as well. So, you know, the winds wouldn't blow them in. So, it was just eerie as. I mean, we could have stayed in our hotel, but they were sort of saying there's probably going to be no water. The electricity would go out. They had a backup generator, but it was going to be quite, quite boring. You weren't allowed to look out windows and all that sort of thing while the cyclone was on. So,
And there were a few game prospectors as well. There were some going out before the cyclone hit and then straight after because it washed all the sand away and it brought the tides in. So it seemed like there was quite a lot out there to be found. So I'm hoping to get a story put in one of our next newsletter editions. I'm speaking to one of the prospectors up there who said he found a lot. So
really? Wow. Okay. And if anybody else is watching that's found anything because of the cyclone, be great to hear.
Absolutely.
Good. National Detecting Day is on not this Saturday, but the next Saturday, 29th of May. No, March. Getting my months wrong. 29th of March, guys, Saturday week. It's bigger and better this year. So we're having live demos. We're having guest speakers. So at the moment, we've got Bart from
Golden Triangle Nugget Hunter.
That's it, the Facebook group. We've also got Johnny from Hobo's Gold. He's going to be doing a gold pour as well. We have an engineer from Mine Lab coming, and Brad from Mine Lab will be there cooking the barbecue. He says that's his job. So we're going to have a free barbecue. So come along and, feed up on that one. We're also going to have exclusive sales just for the day on detectors, different gear and accessories, and there'll be giveaways and prizes. So what's not to love?
I'm looking forward to it.
It'll be good. So 11 till 2 p.m, guys, at Lucky Strike Gold in Geelong. 120 Bellarine Highway, Newcomb. So that should be fun. You want to do this one?
Yeah, I'll talk about this one. So just recently on a private tour, we had an American couple, and it was this guy's dream to find gold. And they were in their 80s, I think, and he found a 0.5 gram nugget. So this is him the moment he found it, pointing down at it on the ground. And I'll just zoom in and show you a closer photo.
And apparently he was just ecstatic. And his wife said that he was not going to stop talking about this forever and a day, the rest of his life, basically. He was so over the moon. And Peter took these people out and made sure they had a good time. They stayed at the Creswick RACV Goldfields Resort, which I love to recommend that place because it's such a beautiful spot. So, and like our international tourists love to go there. There's kangaroos on the golf course, and it is lovely.
I live in Ballarat, and I even want a holiday there on the weekends. It's such a nice place.
You live like 15 minutes away. But it's beautiful. Okay. This one's yours.
We've got the Nemo fishing magnet back in stock. So this is $79 and it's a great product. We've got the school holidays coming up soon.
Yes.
So
feels like school's just gone back.
It does. I don't know where the year's gone.
That's it.
So a good time to order it in now and have it arrive before the holidays.
Yeah, perfect for keeping the kids busy.
Absolutely. I think it's kind of magnet fishing is kind of that gateway into gold prospecting for the young'uns too.
Yeah, that's right. It's easy for the kids to do.
Yeah.
And in fact, we had a guy in the shop, a man and his son in the shop the other day when I was in. Must have been, I don't know what day I was in there. Saturday, perhaps. No, it wasn't Saturday anyway. And this guy came in and they're looking at the fishing magnets, and there's a kid about 10, 12. And he was asking, which ones were best. I said, oh, well, for kids, perhaps this one. And he said, oh, no, it's not for him. It's for me. So I'm like, oh, okay then.
And the tip we had in the newsletter this week was about using sonic cleaners to clean your gold. Now, there's a few different concoctions you can put in with your sonic cleaner, but it's a great little tool that you can have on hand to sparkle your finds up.
Yeah, no, that's a great way to get your gold nice and shiny.
Yes.
The Golden Relics tours, our boot camps for this season have been sold out for quite a while now. Our 7-day adventures in WA, the all-inclusives, there's about 5 spots on our Kalgoorlie ones and about 5 on our Lidster ones.
Yep.
So they are being taken up quite quickly now. So if you're interested, jump on them and come along, see what sort of gold you can find. Darren takes these ones personally. And we're going to be over there too.
We will be.
You'll get 3 of us. The tag-alongs, we have 1 spot available on the Walloona tag-along because one of our returning customers has jumped from the Walloona to the Meekatharra tour, and there's still a few spots left on the Meekatharra tour, which has been the last one to be released. So if you're interested in a tag-along, get in quick for these ones.
So if you're not already on our newsletter list, here's the QR code to sign up. We do go through different things in there as we do in the lives. It's a good first point of call for the latest updates, new tours that come out. There's quite a lot of value in that one weekly newsletter.
Yeah, there is. And thank you to Talisha, who puts in so many hours on the newsletters. And this live show as well. You do an amazing job.
And thank you. The other thing you can use this QR code for is it takes you to our competition that we run each month. We will be starting this up again in a couple of weeks, so good to submit your photos of your finds now for that chance to win a $50 Lucky Strike Gold gift card before the competition starts.
Perfect. Very good.
Okay, we're going to go to our next video now. So this is the Chris Ganley They Once Raced Here video. We have these books in stock in the store, and they've been doing really popular. It's about old racetracks and exploring the ones that don't exist anymore. So we'll put you on to part 1 of the video, and we'll go through part 2 later on in our live.
Racing has a rich and vibrant history right throughout Victoria. It's estimated there's around 1,000 different locations that at one point in time hosted a race meeting. And on They Once Raced Here, we're going to take you on a journey to guide you through some of that history, which you, Chris, have researched extensively. There must have been a lot of nights burning the midnight oil with this research.
Probably too many, Ed, probably too many. And you're right, I mean, there's probably around 1,000 locations all across Victoria. Racing played such a fundamental part in the history of Australia, the history of Victoria. It was such an important thing to a lot of towns, and we're here today in Wood End, one of my favourites, and what's so good about the Wood End racecourse is that we've still got infrastructure here. We've still got a grandstand, we've got a finishing tower, we've got those types of things here. So it's a great example of a former racecourse.
And is that something unique when you looked at all the different racecourses that you've A, visited and B, researched?
Look, probably maybe 30 or 40 have some degree of infrastructure. Wood End's probably a great example. You know, in this series, we're going to see some others. There's places like Newstead that still have some of that sort of stuff as well, right? So, but Wood End is one of those great examples of a racecourse that is no longer here, but has a very rich history. So the first race in Wood End was Boxing Day, 1859. But it was actually up on top of the hill up there, and it was a 2-day meeting. They had 10 races over 2 days. But it wasn't a great spot. Like the side of a hill, not usually the best spot for a race course. So they found a better location, which was here. And this used to be a volunteer reserve for the army. It got gazetted to the town, to the people, early 1900s, and became the Wood End Racecourse, which was then used through until that final race meeting, which was held on the 24th of July, 1982, right here where we're standing.
This is where thousands of punters would have gathered here at Wood End to watch the races. Now, Chris, we're not far from Melbourne. You've got neighbouring towns like Kyneton and like Gisborne. How popular a venue was this?
Oh, really popular, Ed. You know, you're absolutely right. You know, one of the great things about a lot of these racecourses around Victoria was the train network. And pretty much in the earlier days, right, it was the only way to get around before the motor vehicle became very commonplace. So the train was really important to transport the horses and transport the punters here. Wood End Station's not far from here, and so there would have been a lot of people that came here. I mean, I personally know a number of people I've spoken to that used to make their way up from Melbourne for midweek meetings, even come up to watch trials during the week here. So it was a very, very popular racecourse.
And it was a punting crowd as well too. You hear stories that on a Saturday meeting here you get 60 to 70 bookmakers operating in the betting ring, operating on races here, races in Melbourne, also interstate.
Yeah. So, you know, and that was a big part of it all, right? A big part of racing, you know. So for a lot of people, it is about the punting. But for many, it was just to come along, right? And you can look out around this and it would have been a beautiful place to come and watch the races. You know, yes, there would have been people punting here, but there would have been people around the course having a picnic, just enjoying themselves with their family. I mean, it was said to be a quite a big family race course. In fact, a lot of the race books here talk about, you know, family meetings in this spot.
And for people who weren't supposed to be punting, the jockeys, their room was right up close to the betting ring as well too. I've heard allegedly that they were able to stick their head out of the window from the jockeys' room, have a look at the betting ring just to see whether the market was giving their horse a chance or not. Top jockeys were in that room, by the way, too. This is one of the first tracks in Victoria that the legendary Roy Higgins rode at. Alan McLean, Steve Burridge, they all rode plenty of winners here at Wood End.
Okay, so that was part one. It's very interesting, and my partner Sam, he's very much into horse racing, so this book is right down his alley already with that alone, and then he's into gold prospecting as well, or treasure hunting. So
yeah, that's cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Excellent.
We'll flick over to Gold of the Week now. So this piece here, Dad bought off a customer a couple of years ago, and it's one of his favourite pieces of crystalline gold. Now, I think it looks like a fist. Sorry, Dad thinks it looks like a fist, and I think it looks like a piece of coral. What do you see? Which one of those?
I think I see a gorilla's backside. And now that I've seen it, I can't unsee it.
I can kind of see that.
So what do you guys out there see? What do you reckon it is?
Yeah, comment if you see one of those ideas or something else.
Yeah, excellent.
Next we've got the Relic of the Week. So these are beer bungs. I'll bring them up.
The old beer bungs?
Yes. So these rims went into the middle of the old wooden beer barrels. And when these wooden beer barrels broke down over time, the rims would obviously still remain because the wood would rot and disintegrate, and, well, metal stays in the ground forever. So, and these are quite collectible as well because each of the rims has a different pub branding on it, and they can sell, collectors will pay up to $100, but Dad said he's seen them on eBay for up to $300.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I guess depending on the rarity of the pub and all of that. So one of these in the photo Dad found at an old mine site in Western Australia.
Okay, interesting.
Yes. And Dad used to work at the Ballarat brewery, so he was saying he knows the whole process really well of filling the beer barrels up, and you got to quickly plug it before it all comes out. And
yeah, that was his first job out of school, and his father worked there, so he had a little bit of help in getting that job, I believe. But he always says it was one of the best jobs. Yes, absolutely.
And now we're going to delve into our topic of the night, which is mindset and how that influences your prospecting endeavours and why it's so important.
Excellent. Okay.
So gold prospecting isn't just about having the right detector or digging in the right spot. It's really a mental game.
Yeah.
And they say that success is 80% psychology and 20% the mechanics, which is so true.
It is true in a lot of things, isn't it, really? Yeah, so I can understand that.
Yeah. And the people who find the most gold aren't necessarily the ones with the best equipment, though it does help, but it's not all about the right equipment, the best gear. It's those who have the right mentality, they stay focused, they're persistent, and they can adapt well.
That's right. And everybody's got their choice of equipment too. So, you know, some love the GPZ 7000, some love the 6000, some love the 5000 with different coils on it. So, yeah, there's a heap of different gear. So it's about getting something that suits you and getting that mindset right.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, yeah, and, you know, as we know, gold doesn't come easily. And that's exactly why mindset does matter. If you start the day thinking there's probably nothing here, your brain switches off and you're going to miss signals, you're going to ignore faint targets, and you're going to give up too soon. But if you go with the mindset of gold is here, I just have to find it, or how am I going to find it? Your brain gives you answers, and you start thinking differently. So you dig that extra target, you double check your settings, you put in the effort. Otherwise, you wouldn't be putting in the effort if you didn't think there was gold there.
It's kind of like the red car theory. Have you heard of? I think it's got a different name, but if you think about a red cars before you go out on your drive, all you're going to see is red cars. So it's got a similar line to that. And another thing that crossed my mind is there's a guy called Roger Bannister. Have you heard of him?
I have heard of him before. Yes, he's quite famous, very famous.
Yeah. And he was determined to break the world record of running a mile in under 4 minutes. Now, in 1954, he did break this world record. No one had ever run under 4 minutes before, and he did it in 3 minutes and 59 seconds. And before that, everyone thought it was impossible. Scientists have said it was physically impossible. It was impossible. And 1954, he broke that record. And within the next couple of years, another about 5 runners broke the same record, 2 of them being Aussies. But it just proves that it was a psychological limit and more than a physical one. So once they knew it was physically possible, people tried harder and it happened.
They had the belief, didn't they? Yeah. Whereas before they had the belief that nobody could do that.
Exactly.
So it's really interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Another important mindset with gold prospecting is patience. Because you can go a full day without getting a single sound. So gold prospecting is a long game. You might go hours or days without getting a signal. You might go days where you just find nothing but rubbish. And some people give up too soon, but the best prospectors know that persistence pays off.
That's right. And that goes with anything in life, really. I mean, like they say, you only fail when you stop trying.
Yeah.
So, yeah, persistence is a massive thing.
And think of it this way, every swing of your detector, every pan of dirt you have, you're one step closer to finding the gold.
It's the old like salespeople training. You know, you go and knock on 100 doors to get your one yes answer and your one sale. So, you know, every swing, you're one swing closer to getting your nugget.
Yeah.
Okay. And energy equals results. So your attitude affects everything from the way you hunt to how long you last in the field. Studies show that people who expect success are 40% more likely to achieve it than those who doubt themselves. If you're frustrated, you're more likely to make mistakes, rush through an area, or ignore good targets. Also, if you're desperate too, is another kind of mindset. If you go out there and you really, really think you have to find gold because you've spent your last dollar on getting to that area, which brings to mind a story that this guy from Ballarat went over to WA with a mate of ours, and they caught up with us over there. This guy, he had literally spent his last dollar to get over to WA, and he really needed to find a good sized nugget because all the other guys were finding good sized nuggets, so he wanted to too. And he had a good detector and that. And anyway, so Darren felt a bit sorry for him because he desperately needed the money. So he said, "Look, man, mate. Oh, sorry, I'm not going to say his name." He said, "Go over to this area here." He said, "That's where I've detected. In this area, I haven't done this area properly, but over here, I've had an 8 ouncer and a 2 ouncer and a 4 ouncer. So." It makes sense for there to still be more in this area. So anyway, this guy, he swung, and within 5 minutes he'd done this little area. Now Darren saw what was happening and he thought, this isn't good, and said to him, you haven't done that area very thoroughly. No, I've done it, there's nothing there, and he walked off. So Darren thought, oh well, I'll do it then. Anyway, he got this long drawn out sound, and after, I think it took them a couple of hours to get it out, but it was a 16 ouncer.
Oh gosh.
Now this guy was fuming, but he should have done the area properly. I mean, Darren was generous enough to put him on the right spot. It could have been his. So yeah, he wasn't happy, but he was just too desperate for it and just too impatient, and just couldn't couldn't stick at it. So if you stay sharp, alert, and you actually enjoy the hunt, you'll cover more ground, you'll stay out longer, and ultimately find more gold.
Now, I know Dad says that you should be doing roughly the size of a tennis court
in a day.
Yeah. So that's a good metric to go off if you're really wanting to cover off that ground, if it's been a spot you've got to patch off.
That's right. If you know there's gold there, you've got gold there, well then go slow.
And I think another thing about this is the best prospectors, they never stop learning. Gold prospecting is constantly evolving. There's always new machines, new technology, different changes in the ground, or new scientific things that have come to light. And no 2 days are the same. So the best prospectors don't think they know it all. They're the ones that keep learning, testing, and adapting. So if you're not fine-tuning your detector settings, reading the land, and experimenting with new techniques, you're missing opportunities. So just ask yourself, where was gold found before? What do gold-bearing rocks and creeks and trees, like the tree indicators, look like? How does the water flow affect gold deposits?
Yeah, that's right.
So even Dad, with years of experience, he is huge on mindset, isn't he? It's not just you and I who are big on it, but Dad is a big believer of it as well. So with all his years of experience, he's still reading books and learning from videos and tweaking his techniques and changing settings. So
yeah, he says he learns new stuff every day. So yeah, he said if he wasn't learning, he'd be dead. So yeah.
And if someone with thousands of hours is still learning, what does that tell you? Like,
yeah, that's right. You have to keep learning, don't you? Just to up your game all the time. So you also need to be adaptable and change your approach when needed. So gold prospecting isn't a one size fits all. Conditions change, as Talisha said before, landscapes shift, and what worked yesterday may not work today. You have to be willing to try different locations if you're not getting signals. Experiment with detector settings, sensitivity, ground balance, recovery speed. And everybody's got their favourite settings. Or if you haven't, ask somebody if they're willing to give you their favourite settings. Darren's always happy enough to give some settings to people. And a lot of people believe in factory settings too. Like the factory settings aren't bad at all. So also learning new techniques is a lot of fun. So dry panning, crevicing, sluicing, high banking, Yeah, there's lots of different techniques that you can go and do, just as something different. As you know, you might get bored with detecting, for a half a day, and then you go out and do some high banking, or dry blowing, or there's lots of different things you can do.
Yeah.
Mm.
And it's all about being positive as well and enjoying the process, because the adventure isn't just about finding gold, it's about the whole process, being outdoors, being connected to the nature, and just enjoying that whole experience, because you'll go days without finding gold sometimes. So you've got to make sure that you're enjoying the whole thing, not just finding the gold, and treat every trip out like it's another chance to learn and explore and improve. And some of the best memories that you create when prospecting doesn't come all the time when you find gold. Sure, it's great, but it's about the thrill of the hunt.
It is, isn't it? And but finding that gold, geez, that's a good feeling, isn't it? It's a good feeling. Also, you need to take action. So, gold doesn't care who you are. It doesn't jump into your hand because you deserve it. If you're going to just sit on the couch and, dream about it, sorry, you're not going to find it. You need to get out there. You need to get that detector out of the cupboard and, put it to work. So, those ones that get out there and make it happen are the ones that are going to find gold. So which one do you want to be?
And then there's the mindset of being connected with your community as well, because prospecting in general has such a great like-minded community. I don't think I've ever seen a similar community bond as strong before. So it can be a solo hobby, but there is a lot to gain from connecting from prospectors as well. So join a club or PMAV, find your local branch, join the Facebook groups.
There's some great clubs out there. Like Talisha said, PMAV is one. The Seekers Club, and what's the other one? What's the one that Ollie's in? Like they're more to do with panning and high banking. And I can't think what their name is. Anyway.
So it's great to learn from experienced people. They might share their tips with you and maybe even find a prospecting buddy to go out with.
That's right. You meet some great people. We've met some awesome people over the years.
Yeah, we have.
Really lovely people. So, yeah, it is just awesome.
And it's also a great place to give back as well. You can share your knowledge with newbies, and there's always knowledge to share, really, even with the experienced prospectors. You can always trade tips and share with each other. And I think this is something great about why you guys and Dad started this business, because he never really had that help. It was such a confidential sort of hobby. No one wanted to share the techniques and the tips because they wanted the gold all for themselves. Whereas now it's become such a big community, and like Dad, for one, he's always happy to share his tips and his knowledge, and that's why he started Lucky Strike Gold and Golden Relics, to train everyone on how to metal detect and prospect for gold.
Yeah, that's right. Just give everybody the help that he didn't get when he was, only, I don't know, what was he, 18 or something when he got his first metal detector. And it was really hard.
I think it took him 6 months to find his first gold nugget, and it was just trial and error.
Yeah, that's right. And he was actually out looking for relics when he found that. And when he found the gold nugget, he was just hooked. So he was so excited. So, yeah.
So a little summary of what we've just gone over, because that was quite a lot of information. One key thing which I'm going to say again is 80% mindset and 20% the mechanics. So the right attitude makes all the difference. So believe it's there, because doubt kills fines. Approach every hunt with confidence. Patience pays.
Patience does pay. And patience and persistence.
Yes, the 2 Ps.
I got a story on that one too.
Okay, go on.
So we were buying gold when we were living at Clunes. We were buying gold from a man and his son who were prospectors. They were full-time prospectors. And they used to come in every week, like on a Friday, like clockwork. They would be in and they would sell their gold for the week. We would, give them the cash and they'd be set for the week, come back next Friday. Anyway, this Friday they didn't turn up. We're like, oh, what's happened to them? And the following Friday they didn't turn up either. And we're like, oh, where are they? What's got into them? Anyway, the following Friday they did turn up. And we're like, where have you been? What happened to you? And I said, we couldn't find any gold for 3 weeks. We couldn't find any gold. And they were out there all the time. They were good prospectors. They knew the spots, but they were just having this dry patch. But they persisted. They kept going, which I had full admiration for them, because it's not easy. It's probably easier to give up, but they kept going. And on that last day, they found, I think it was like a 2-ounce nugget.
Oh, gosh.
And that made up for all the weeks that they hadn't been finding anything.
Yeah.
So, they so well deserved that. Their persistence and patience paid off. And they are full-timers, so they knew what they were doing.
And another thing on top of that, which you've sort of got me thinking, is without failure, you don't have room to grow. So it takes fails to come back up even higher.
That's right. You got to zigzag your way. Zigzag your way to the top.
Then we had energy equals results. So a positive attitude keeps you focused and in the field longer. Keep learning. The best prospectors tweak their settings, test techniques, and adapt. Be adaptable. Move locations, change your settings, and try new methods.
And I would say do your research too. It doesn't hurt to research new areas as well.
Yeah, the research is just as important as the physical day of prospecting.
Yeah.
You could be the best prospector and go to the worst spot, and what are you going to find?
That's right. Yes.
You can be the worst prospector and go to the best spot,
and you quite possibly will find gold. You may not, but you quite possibly will.
So just enjoy the process. Not every trip leads to gold, but every trip is an adventure.
That's right. You have to enjoy being out there in the bush, I think. So I usually say to people, just enjoy the day, no matter if you find gold. Let gold be the bonus for the day.
Yeah.
And then you're on the right track for the right mindset then.
Yeah. And then we've got take action. So the only way to find gold is if you're actually out there.
Unless you do the vacuuming like me. And I find gold when I'm vacuuming. So sometimes Darren's gone out prospecting for the day and he'll come home and he'll say, oh, I found this little bit. And I'll say, well, I found more than you. I found it on the floor when I was vacuuming.
He's the worst for that.
Yeah, he's the worst for that.
And then join a community, learn more, share more, and grow with other prospectors. So your detecting is only as good as your mindset behind it. Stay positive, stay persistent. Gold is out there.
It is. It definitely is out there. We see quite a lot of it coming into the shops. So,
and I think that's such a big question we get asked a lot. Is gold still out there?
Yeah, that's right.
And it absolutely is. Like the way the technology evolves each year just unlocks a whole new layer to the landscape. And there's still so many untouched areas and the overlooked areas as well. I know Dad always says sometimes those areas that you do overlook are good producing. Like He always parks on the gold, I know, on the tours.
I know.
So you don't have to go over the hill and way over there. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I think people on, especially the WA tours
Yeah.
these days, they know to tell him
Yeah.
at the end of the day, move your bus, Darren, because we want to detect under it. Because I think probably 8, 9 times out of 10, he's parked on gold.
Yeah.
So it's really crazy. You don't have to go, over 10 hills to get to the gold.
Yeah.
It's just where it is.
Yeah.
Mm.
And now we're going to head over to part 2 of the They Once Raced Here. So I'll put that on for you now.
We're now at the secondary grandstand here at Woodend, and you can tell, Chris, the way it's shaped. This is the turn out of the straight. The other interesting thing you see here, the old Steward's Tower.
Yeah, that's right, Ed. You don't see many of these, right? It's a great reminder of the past. You don't see many in, such good condition, and I know that doesn't look great, but that's in pretty good condition for how these things are. But you don't see a lot of these things, right? So it's a great spot, for the steward to be looking down the straight, which was down here. Probably had a better view in the days before this tree grew here, but that's what happens on these former race courses. And to me, things like this are an important part of why I set about this journey of documenting all these former race courses. This is why I enjoy doing this research into race courses, because it's documenting these things for the years to come. When people say, well, they didn't race there, well, yes, they did.
The officials at Woodend were housed in this tower here, including the race cooler located quite close to ground level. People like Brian Blackmore, John Russell, Ray Benson all called the races here, and being close to ground level also meant there was great banter between the callers and the crowd. The other thing to note, this is where the photo finish would have been.
Yeah, so there would have been a photo finish in here. Said to be one of the first courses in Victoria to have a photo finish. So a great way to obviously adjudicate, because there are many stories out there of who actually won those races and what that looked like. But with a photo finish, probably a little bit hard to argue, so a good example of that.
We've made our way to the side of the track here at Woodend because the action's not only in the home straight. This is the only surviving distance marker at Woodend Racecourse, 700 to go. This is quite unique, Chris.
Yeah, it's very unusual, Ed. You don't see 700 metre markers. You'll see 2, 4, 6 furlongs, but you don't see 700. So the actual course itself was 8.5 furlongs. So again, a little bit unusual. So 1,700 metres. It wasn't originally that length. When they first made the course, it was a little bit shorter, but they managed to get a little bit more land over on the east side there. They extended the course. They moved some of the buildings, and they set themselves up with a 2 furlong straight to finish off, which is pretty good. The course by the 1940s had a continuous rail, which again was a little bit unusual in those times. A lot of the courses had railed straights on the inside and the outside, protect the public, keep the horses away, and they would use bamboo poles around the rest of the course. But this one definitely had a continuous rail, and it was said to be about 2 chains, so about 40 metres wide in places. A decent sized race course.
And quite a decent home straight as well too, a nice long 400 metre home straight.
Yeah, a good run, a good run home. You don't see that on all of these courses. You see some of them, a little bit Moonee Valley-like, that tight turn into the finish. But they'd obviously thought about it here, and they'd set themselves up with a good finish.
Is there another claim to fame that Woodend has?
The other claim to fame, and a lot of people will claim this one, is that one of the first to use a starting gate. And so starting gates haven't been around all that long, really, if you go back in time, and we just take them for granted, the starting gate. A lot of our courses have multiples of them, right? But they used to share them between courses. Woodend is said to be one of the first ones to have one. I don't know how much truth is in that, because I've heard that claim from a lot of race courses.
Well, you know what we say though, don't let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Absolutely.
Over 120 years of racing history came to an end. Woodend held the last race meeting in 1982. So Chris, why did they stop racing here?
Well, for some period of time, the government have been cracking down on racing, the authorities have been cracking down because there was a lot of it going on. And it was becoming very uneconomical to keep all of these courses going. It's quite an expensive exercise. So finally, they cracked down on Woodend. They forced it to merge with nearby Kyneton. The final meeting was held here on Saturday the 24th of July. The final race here was won by Newry Boy.
Okay, you've kept the race book as a souvenir from that day. The legacy of Wood End still lives on though, because you've got the Wood End Cup at Kyneton in the early part of February, and you can still see the remnants here. So there is still that history and that legacy.
There is, and you know, you will still get locals from Wood End that will go to that race meeting and think of it as their own meeting, and that's pretty common. You have Boland still racing at Geelong. You have many examples of that across Victoria.
What's left of Wood End Racecourse? What is it used for now?
So as you can see, and quite usually, so there's about 50 acres, give or take, because you pretty much needed that to have a decent sized racecourse. It's used by the public. So you've got a recreation area down there. This is being used for equestrian and pony type events. And, you know, having visited here a number of times, particularly on the weekend, the local community is very active down here, walking their dogs. You know, it's even good for the wildlife, Ed. Just before we had a few kangaroos running through here.
It's a part of racing in this part of Victoria. Chris, thanks so much. It's been wonderful to chat about the history of racing here at Wood End. Looking forward to travelling far and wide across Victoria with you as we visit places they once raced at.
Yeah, it's
There we go. So next up, we're going to go through the Q&As. So I just had a quick look through and I could see a couple of questions in there. One was if we sell sonic cleaners. Now, we do have some on the way, so hopefully they come in soon. And then another question was, is Hobo Gold doing a gold pour on National Detecting Day? And yes, he is. So
Yes.
I'm looking forward to that. That'll be great. Feel like a Sovereign Hill sort of.
That'll be fun. We might need some security guards, you reckon? Oh, that'll be good. And I think there was a question there about GPS. Is that right?
Yeah, how much a GPS is.
Yeah. So a good one, and it's not, you know, one of the most expensive ones, is the InReach Mini 2. It's the second edition. We've got it on sale for $579 at the moment. They're usually $679, so that's $100 off, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
Why I like GPSs though in general is they have a long battery life. So not like your phone, which is lucky sometimes to last a day. These ones have a battery life that will last between 14 days to 30 days, which is massive. And particularly if your life is depending on it, they're a great thing to have. The other thing with this one, the InReach Mini, you've also got two-way messaging as well. So you can exchange texts via satellite with your loved ones back at home. So I think those two things, and this is, you know, like I said, not the dearest one. You can get them with all sorts of bells and whistles on them. But this is just a basic one, and I think, you know, the minimum that you need to keep safe out there.
Yeah.
You know, there's been too many accidents, deaths.
Especially last year too. I know what was 2 separate instances of deaths, one in Queensland and one in Western Australia. So don't be the one to think, oh, it's not going to happen to me.
That's right. Yeah. And it's so easy to walk around in circles.
Yeah.
And I've done it, and I know Darren has done it as well. And over in WA in particular, because it's sometimes there just are no identifying features, and you think you're walking in a straight line and you are actually walking in a circle.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of disastrous. And that's why they say stay in one spot. If you're lost, don't keep walking. Yeah. Just stay. Yeah.
And we had a funny comment on here as well. I'm just trying to read it out to you. It was Mark. He said, hope you got rid of last week's visitor. Squeak, squeak. We were actually going to bring the cat in this room tonight.
We were, weren't we? Yeah, so the cat would make quick work of him. I threw some bait around after last week's show, so They might have full tummies now.
I heard a noise over in the corner before.
Hope not.
Okay, got our last video for tonight. It's a video on Steiglitz Courthouse. So Dad and I were over there filming before he left to Western Australia. So an interesting piece of history.
Yeah, it's Darren here from Lucky Strike Gold. We're at the old gold mining township of Steiglitz, which is a national park, so you aren't allowed to detect here. But boy, is there some history here. At the height of its day in the 1860s, I think there was about 1,500 people living in this town. There was 4 hotels. There was an undertaker. There was a newsagent. There was the old courthouse, which is still remaining. I bet you that could tell a story or two. A few bad eggs around on the goldfields. But there's the old building over the back there. There's the nice old house there. Old general store there. There's always the odd church, and there's one down the road there. But yeah, just a real interesting place just to chill out, have a walk around. There's a car park up the back there. And today there's probably, how many cars up there? There'd probably be, gee, I reckon 10 cars up there, just enjoying the day and having a walk around. But the courthouse, I know, sometimes is open and there's a lot of history in there. There's a lot of old maps on the wall. There's books you can buy. Yeah, with a lot of these organisations, it's just hard to get staff, I suppose, to run it during the weekends. But yeah, if you're looking for somewhere to go, come out to Steiglitz and have a look at the great old history.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed the video on the Steiglitz Courthouse.
So
And
got our 2 lucky winners for tonight.
we have for these prizes.
So we've got Lisa Barbie and Ross Goonan. Congratulations.
Congratulations, guys. So either contact the store or come into the shop from tomorrow. Those prizes will be waiting for you in there. So well done.
And that's the end of the show for tonight.
That is the end of the show.
Right on time.
And next week, Darren will be back.
Yes.
So he can have the couch next week.
Yes, I think we've done our
I
couple of
think
weeks
we've
worth.
done wonderfully. All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Catch you next time.
Bye.